Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. Hope everybody's having a good morning. I hope you're waking up and getting the cobwebs out. You're about to start your day off on a good note. Um, as we start our day, I want to bring a little information to your mind. If you haven't already heard about Candice Owens' investigation into Black Lives Matter, then a couple of the things that she discovered may be surprising to some people, and it may not be surprising to some people. It's not surprising to me because I've been hearing things for a while, and like I said, I study things and I try to stay on top of the things that's going on in the Black community because all of these things are important to our movement, whether good, bad, or ugly. And so I took the time out to listen to what Candace Owens had to say, and what she revealed was very, very disturbing to me. I had a great conversation with my brother Trey Coleon last night. Salute to Trey. And we were discussing the issues in the Black community, and we were also talking about the exploitation of the Black community by certain people. Well, when you talk about exploitation of the Black movement and the Black community and the Black people, I think BLM has exploited us on a level to which nobody else has ever done before. And I'm just speaking about Blacks within the Black movement. Candace Owens went out and she did a report because she found out that over $80 million had been donated to the Black Lives Matter movement for fighting against police brutality and helping Black neighborhoods. Candace Owens went around to these Black neighborhoods that were supposed to be helped by Black Lives Matter. You would see buildings that were still boarded up. You would see graffiti still on places. Now, believe me, I'm not naive. I know how they can go and they can find a location that's just the most rundown place and they can take videos of it, and they can also put that out there and spin that narrative to say that, look, Black Lives Matter isn't doing anything. I get that. I understand that 100%. But taking that away, and you look at buying $1 million homes with this money, and then turning around and you go down the list of receipts and you see that they're paying for sex workers, they're paying for strippers, they're paying for phone sex, and all of these different things. It's a long laundry list of things that does not benefit the Black community that is on the receipts of these Black Lives Matter leaders. And this is the exploitation of the Black community that I'm talking about. I spoke about Dr. Umar Johnson because Dr. Umar Johnson speaks a great game. But when it comes to showing where the money is being appropriated, he cannot show you anything. And he says he reserves that right to exclusive donors, but that is not the truth because we still don't see any school. We still don't see any programs that he's created with all of the money that he was donating. And so I have a problem with this. I have a problem with Black Lives Matter. I have a problem with them misappropriating the funds, and they definitely need to be held accountable for not properly initiating those funds to where they needed to go. I have a major problem with that. So when you take this into account, you really have to understand that there are certain people who are going to capitalize on the Black struggle. It's always been a common thread where there's some piece of crap out there who's going to try to capitalize on the Black struggle. This isn't anything new, but to this extent, to this level, and to this magnitude, it's absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And so, my word to Kanye West is this: if this is what motivated you to say white lives matter because you're opposing black lives matter because of the information that Candice Owens gave, let me school you on something, brother. Just because I find out that there's something going on inside of the movement that is not right and we need to correct that does not mean that I'm going to flip on black people in the black community. I'm just going to flip on Black Lives Matter, but I'm not going to do that by wearing a White Lives Matter shirt. That's the dumbest idea I could ever hear in my life. Just because I find out that BLM is not what they say they are, that means that I'm going to get rid of BLM, but I'm not going to say white lives matter as opposed to black lives matter. I'm just going to say that Black Lives Matter organization is not for the black people. The same way back in the day during Hurricane Katrina, when you announced that George Bush don't like black people, George Bush does not care about black people. That's the same exact way that you should have handled this situation. BLM is not for black people. But to suggest that white lives matter because you see that the Black Lives Matter movement is not up to par and not doing what they're supposed to is absolutely asinine, and that's the stupidest logic that I've ever heard in my life. I don't care whether you're on medication or what. I'm on medication too, and I have way damn better sense than that. So that's no excuse. Everybody want to holler, "Oh, he's off his meds." Well, when I'm off my meds, I don't act a fool like that. I don't. My logic is not clouded like that. So let's stop giving these reprieves to people who don't deserve them, because Kanye knows very well what he's doing. His mother was a civil rights activist. So he know the importance of the movement. He know the work that she put in for the black community. And just because you find some people within the community who aren't doing right, you don't abandon the community. You get rid of those people. So what the hell is on Kanye West's mind? You are the dumbest smart person I ever seen in my life. You really are. You just a dumb smart nigga. You don't abandon the cause because you got some bad people in there. If that was the case, we would never have a damn cause. We would never have a movement with that mindset. That's idiotic. I'm going to abandon the black community because BLM took a whole lot of money and they went and did a whole lot of stuff that they wasn't supposed to do with it. So for that reason right there, I'm going to say the white lives matter. That's your answer? That's the wrong damn answer, Kanye. Now, to address BLM, you may think you've gotten away with something, and it's very enticing for a person to have a lot of money like that to come into their possession, and it's very tempting to take that money and start to go out and do the things that you were never financially able to do. I get that. Money, the love of money is the root to all evil. You know, often people will say money is the root of all evil. No, the love of money is the root of all evil. And that's why you see people like BLM who's now being exposed because their love of money was much greater than their love of the people and their love of the community. And that's just the honest truth about BLM. You can feel how you want to, say what you want to. The evidence is showing us that. Good morning, Chicky. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. Thank you for coming in. So the evidence is there to show you where BLM's interest and where their heart is. Because the other day I was doing the show and I said, wherever a man's heart is, there also you will find their treasure. And so apparently BLM's heart is in mansions and it's in sex workers and it's in cars. Because do y'all remember a show that Killer Mike did about a year or two ago called Kill Shot, where he took different groups of people and he tried to create like a black utopia, like a little just a little land area, and he took that and he took some different black peoples from different walks of life to see if they could coincide together in this community. And the project was, it was interesting to see, but at the same time, there was a albino brother that was on that show. Y'all remember the albino dude? Well, that albino brother was a board member or a ranking member in Black Lives Matter, and he was caught for embezzling money through Black Lives Matter shortly after that show, Kill Shot with Killer Mike. Shout out to Killer Mike. So that was the first instance where I heard about Black Lives Matter doing some dirt. And then I began to research myself at that point because I'm like, well, if he's embezzling money, I'm sure he's not doing it all by himself. So who else is in on this? And that's whenever we open Pandora's box and we begin to see the misappropriation of funds. This is something that most black politicians get in trouble for, is misappropriation of funds, because people will start to back them and they'll show them that they really want this person in office because they agree with their policies and they agree with their mindset mostly, and they'll put their backing with them and they'll donate to this person to make sure that they have the funding to run a strong campaign. Well, in comes that saying again: the love of money is the root of all evil. These people will get this money and they will begin to look around and nobody's supervising them on the spending of this money. And so they'll just test it out and get a little something here, and nobody will say anything. Nobody will notice. Then they'll get a little something there, and then they'll get bigger and bigger, and their greed will constantly grow to the point to where they reveal themselves because they just get so greedy and caught up in spending this money on things that it's not supposed to go towards. It's a story that's ages old. Greed, absolutely. That greed is one of the main things that destroy these people. And so we were talking about politics, and Trey was saying that, he don't trust politicians because, and he had a valid point, because a lot of people do go into politics with good intentions, and then um, they get flipped or turned or influenced to do other things once they get their foot in the door. And that is our biggest fear whenever we put our money, our time, and our effort behind a candidate that we like. We've been burned so many times, and now black people are very apprehensive when it comes to supporting a black candidate for any office. These are the things that are hindering our movement, is that seed of distrust being planted in the midst of our movement. And once that seed starts to grow, then you're going to have everything come to a standstill until that thing is fixed. Yo, if you need a home, if you need to appropriate some funds towards buying a better home, if you're in that organization and you need a place, not wanting something better, but you need a place, then that's something that can go through the board. If you have a finance board or something like that within that organization, you take that issue to them and you do it the right way so that it can be written off, so that it can be tagged and all of that stuff and spoken for, and you do it the right way. But to go and buy a mansion, you sitting up on this hill behind a gate in a gated community and all of this stuff like this, and you still have black people with needs and wants within that community that are not being met, and you've been given over $80 million. We need to see some receipts, like right now, not today, but yesterday, on what's being done within this Black Lives Matter movement. Because now at this point, you've taken something that had become the epitome of this movement in this age, and you tarnished it, you stained it, you've blown your witness, and Black Lives Matter has absolutely no more credibility thanks to you greedy ass people. Thanks to you greedy ass people. And this is exactly what I be talking about, the exploitation of the black community. This is why black people have such bitterness and resentment towards each other. And this is why I understand it and why I don't really push back whenever black people bring up that point, because it is an absolutely valid and true point. Shit, you're right. What have they done for the people? They haven't done anything for the people, Chicky. That's the problem. They haven't done nothing for black people. BLM, the only thing that they've done is take from black people and cause us to lose that much more trust in organizations who come through and say that they're for the people. We are so sick of these types of people, the Umars and the BLMs of the world. And this is what I was saying that we got to look out for. We gotta question these people. We gotta vet these people a lot better than we do before we allow them to come in and work within our community. We got to really see things being done in the community. You said you never thought they would do anything but take. I like to give everybody benefit of the doubt. If you come in on a good note, you come in and you're trying to do something good, and I really see in you that you are, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. Am I gonna believe your words? No, I'm gonna sit back and I'm going to see the fruit that this tree bears, because you can tell the tree by the fruit that it bears. And so when I sit back and I begin to see, oh wow, that's a red flag. Oh, they only do this when there's a photo opportunity. That's a red flag. Oh, they're on here and they're promoting everything except for what their title is. That's a red flag. These are the things that cause me to back away from people and these different organizations. Whenever I start to recognize these red flags, it's no different than the way that I fell back away from Kwame. It's the same thing. Exploitation of the black community with those same old lame ass tactics. And we being the good natured people that we are, and we wanting to believe in somebody, we will give in time and time again, and these people will burn us time and time again. So how do we rid ourselves of these types of people? I feel like there needs to be a very, very exclusive group of people. And BLM should not be a part of any black movement. They should not be given any money. They should not be given anything until they do what they said they've done. And even after that, we should not deal with that organization any longer. They've shown themselves unfit to serve the black community. They showed themselves unfit to serve any community. And we ultimately see what community is benefiting from the Black Lives Matter. And it's not the black community, it's the gay community, it's the LGBTQ community. They're the ones who are benefiting from the money received for the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, is something wrong with the LGBTQ community receiving something? No. But don't use the banner of Black Lives Matter to get people to donate to your cause when it's really not about Black lives. It's only about gay lives. Now we have this. Now I have a problem with the LGBTQ community. Based on that, it ain't got nothing to do with your lifestyle, your sexuality, none of that shit. It's all about your lack of character at this point, because you've done what so many people have done to the civil rights movement for all of these years. And I've always stated this, how people will come in under the banner of civil rights and everybody fucks around and gets way more. They get way more stuff out of the civil rights movement than the black people who started the civil rights movement. Everybody comes in and they benefits off of the civil rights movement, using that banner of civil rights movement. And BLM, this is what they did. They came in using the civil rights movement, but now they have not given anything back to the black community. They've given everything to their own specific exclusive community. So anybody who tries to question them on anything, they'll try to make it a sexuality conversation. No, we're not going to do that bullshit spin. We're not going to do that. BLM or BLMQT, or however you want to add all the different little acronyms together, because it's all intertwined. Let's not play this game any longer. We've revealed who you truly are. You're a group that is going to support the rights and the improvement and the betterment of the LGBTQ community, but you use the Black Lives banner to do that. That's very deceptive. That's fraud. That's absolute fraud, and they need to be held accountable. They need to be brought to justice, and they need to be made to pay back that money to the people who donated, not knowing what they were really donating to. Good morning. Good morning. You said you good now? Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. And good morning to you. Um, yeah, this is bothering me because, like I said, I can't stand for people to take advantage of our movement. You got people in here who are doing real work and really trying to make sure that the people are taken care of that need to be taken care of. There are people in our community who have given their whole life to keeping the community safe. They've given their whole life to raising children that are productive members of society. And now that they've gotten to an age to where they can't go out and work anymore, and we know that Social Security is not giving them anything to live on, these people who have given so much to our community and to our people, they need stuff. And they need the younger people, this younger generation who they fought for, to have the right to be able to get out, exercise, and do the things that they've done. They need these people to remember them in all of this money that they're getting, and they're not getting any of that. I got a problem with that, BLM. I got a major problem with that. Salute to you, Magruder. Blessings this morning. So, yeah, I got a bone to pick with you, BLM. There's so much out here that needs to be done. There's so many programs with $80 million. This is the money that Umar was talking about he would need to build his school. So what school have you built, BLM? What community center have you built, BLM? What programs have you initiated, BLM? How much money have you put towards fighting against the police forces and the police brutality and defunding the police, BLM? How much money do you have tied up with lawyers in court fighting against these things that y'all have been out there in the streets talking about? This is what you're fighting for, BLM. I haven't seen one case, not one court case. and I watch court TV all the time. I've seen nothing with the BLM tag on it that refers to fighting against the tyranny of police brutality at all from BLM. Nobody takes the time to check these things, but I'm so glad that Candice Owens had the time and she made the time to go check these things. Now, what her motive was for that, I can't speak on that. It doesn't matter what her motive was. The thing is that she brought out this very valid, true information about these people, and they need to be held accountable. Some people need to go to jail, and this whole thing need to be disbanded because we see what its true meaning is, and take the whole Black Lives Matter off of your name. Make it LGBTQ matters. I know that might be too many letters for your shirt, but just make them smaller or something. Change the font or something. I don't know what you got to do, but you need to damn quit riding on the coattails of Black lives when that's not what y'all care about. You said, what about a crime bill for us? Our crime bill should have been in the Constitution. Our crime bill should have been in all of these different amendments that they've added to the Constitution over the years. We just received a lynching bill, a non-lynching bill. It's 2022, about to be 2023, and we as Black people who have been here for over 400 years are just now receiving a bill that says it's unlawful and you're going to get in trouble for hanging a Black person from a tree. We just got that last year. So to think that the United States of America is going to give us any further protection than what they have, I mean, I think that's a fairy tale. I really don't expect the United States to do much more for us as a Black community. I think it's up to us. We need to quit looking to them for anything. No reparations. I dispelled that last night. I used to be big on talking about reparations, but I wouldn't even want reparations from this country because of what type of strings would be attached to it. America's never going to give you something without strings attached to it. That's just facts. And so, I don't want anything from the United States. All I want from them is to leave us alone and let us do what we do without them interfering, like Black Wall Street. But we know that they'll try to find their way to interject themselves into the equation to make it seem like something can't be done without them, because they always have to have that narrative in this country where they held themselves so highly. You said you don't like Candice Owens, but was glad she exposed. Yeah, me too. I'm so glad that she exposed that. And like I said, I already kind of had an idea. It didn't surprise me at all because of that albino. I hate referring to him as that, but I don't know his name. But that's what he was. He was the albino dude that was on that show Kill Shot with Killer Mike, and he was a staff member for BLM. And right after that show Kill Shot, he was pretty much arrested and put on the hot seat for embezzling money through Black Lives Matter. He's just one. That was a couple of years ago. So from that point to now, they've accumulated over $80 million and they still running with it. Yeah, we don't matter in the eyes of the group, in the eyes of the people who run this country. We really don't. Yeah, yeah. I don't like Candace Owens. It's not that I don't. I understand what Candace Owens' problem is. Candace Owens grew up in an environment where she saw Black men doing very disparaging things and very disappointing things her whole life. And so every visual or interaction that she had with Black men in her upbringing was a negative interaction. And so that forms a certain narrative in your mind about black men. That's why you have black women out here who will only date white men, is because they've seen black men do some of the most horrible things, and they've probably experienced some of those horrible things from those black men, and that shaped their view towards us. And so they look to white men to be the opposite of what the black man is, and that's the route that they go. I understand that's a psychological thing. And, I can't really be mad at her for that, because if that was her experience, how can I be mad at her for her trauma? But I just don't agree the way that she attacks the black community and disparages the black community. She's smart enough to know what the play is on the black community, but she will never put focus on that. She'll only put focus on our poor behavior. So yeah, that's where I have a problem with Candice Owens, but I understand where her vitriol comes from. You said they don't care about us. No, they don't. They absolutely don't. I agree. No reparations, too little, too late. Yeah, yeah. The whole reparations thing. If they really wanted to pay reparations, I had this conversation before with somebody. I was like, they always say that they wouldn't have the money to be able to do so. So somebody, some very smart person, they tallied up a scale and they said if America was able to come up with $27 trillion, they would be able to give each black person who's a descendant of a slave $400,000 each for each individual person in the United States. But I was like, hold on, wait, because America is not the only ones who are guilty in that whole slave trade. They weren't the only ones, because Africa has some involvement in that too. Africa is the one who sold us to those slave traders who brought us to the Europeans. So you still have the slave traders who were the Spaniards and who were the not the Arabians, but the what were they called? The Arabians. The Arabs. Yeah, they were involved in the slave trade. So Africa, with all of their minerals and all of their endless jewels and stuff like that, they can chip in on this bill that would be owed to the black Americans. So to say that you can't get up the money to pay for reparations for black people is an absolute lie, because Africa is responsible for part of that bill, and the Arab nations are responsible for part of that bill. And both the African and the Arab nations do have money. All of that oil money that the crown prince is over there spending up, that's part of that money that can go towards reparations for black people in America. All of those blood diamonds that's being sold from these different places in Africa and causing all these different little militias to come about to force people to dig for these diamonds and different jewels. Yeah, that could be money that's going towards reparations for the black people in America. But nobody wants to talk about that because it makes way too much sense, and it'll put them back on the hook for reparations, because people will be like, yeah, Africa owe in on this. They need to pitch in, and so do the Arabs. But nobody's going to have that conversation. It's not even really worth having. I'm not interested in any reparations at this point. I just want us to be left alone so that we can create our own economic independence away from these people. Once again, because we've demonstrated that we can do it with the Greenwich neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So you said you thought we was getting reparations. I don't. Yeah, that I'm not getting my hopes up for anything like that. I wouldn't add that into my budget or nothing like that. Mm, but we do matter. We just don't matter to certain people. That's the thing. To say that Black lives don't matter and things like that, it just means that it don't matter to white people. Black lives matter to black people, most black people. And it really doesn't matter who our lives matter to. If we really ultimately look at it, it doesn't matter. We've still progressed and we've still grown and we've still thrived, even though our lives have never mattered over all of these 400s of years. So who cares if somebody says that our lives matter now in 2022? Who cares? I don't. I really don't. I don't bog myself down with all of these shoulda, coulda, woulda type dreams. I'm out here doing the actual work that's gonna get real results in our community on the local level. I'm not looking to the federal or really state government for anything, because anything dealing with them is going to come with something attached to it. And I'm still going to dip my foot in that political arena, but I'm going in with this level of understanding. I'm not going to be naive. I'm not going to go in there thinking that I'm going to change the whole entire system, and I'm going to create a new party, or I'm not going to go in naive like that. I'm going to go in and I'm going to combat the things that I see that I'm able to combat, and start with the small victories for our people on a local level so that they can see the benefits of that. But then I have a question. Do I really have to go into politics in order for that to be done? Because the more that I'm networking out here and I'm asking these questions and getting in contact with different public officials, I'm seeing that you don't necessarily have to wear the politician label to get a lot of these things done. So I'm just seeing what's going to be the best route for me to get the quickest and best results for my community. So if politics is the way to do that, then I'm going to explore that. But if I can still do that same thing without having to do that, then, so be it. I'm going to let Yahweh lead me in which way that I should go. That's what I do on all decisions of this magnitude. And so you said our lives always mattered. That's how we got here. Our lives matter to the Most High. How about that? Fuck everybody else. Our lives matter to the Most High. He is the one who continues to multiply us in the midst of all of this chaos and calamity, the same way that He's always done for His people. You think back at all the times that Israel has been in captivity and how they've multiplied and how they've always grown and they've always become a powerful force, even in the midst of their captivity. And so I don't even care at this point. There's nothing that these people here can do to stop the progression of us as a people. So fuck their opinion. I don't care if my life don't matter to them. My life matters to me, and my life matters to the creator of all things. And so because my life matters to the creator of all things, my life is going to be what he wants it to be, not what they want it to be. And so despite anything that they bring against me, I'm still going to prosper in this world. This is the understanding of that I have. This is the peace that I have within me whenever I wake up every morning and I go out here and I kiss my wife off on her way to work, and I kiss my daughter on her way to work, and I tell my godsons, have a great day out there, do great things. This is the feeling that I have, man, regardless of what these people have done. And it is very clear, evident, and apparent that there is a systemic system that was put in place to put these obstacles in our way and to discourage us from trying to have anything, and it hasn't discouraged us. It's discouraged only the weak, but the strong will always survive, and we will always overcome these obstacles in our way, and we won't allow that to be an excuse to say we can't have something. So fuck BLM all day, every day. To me, BLM stands for Blacks Losing Money. Anybody who donate into that bullshit ass cause, then just know that your money is not going towards the black community at all. Your money is going towards black lesbian movement. That's what it is. That's really what it is. I'm gonna say it for what it is. I ain't gonna bite my tongue on the shit, and I hope I ain't offend nobody. But that's just the truth of the matter. That's what BLM stands for, because that's where all the money and all of the rewards are going to, and the heads of that movement are the black lesbians. Now, do I have a problem with lesbians? Absolutely not. I have so many cousins, family members, and friends that are lesbian. But my problem, once again, is with you exploiting the black community and the black movement, saying that that's what you're about when that's not what you're about. If you're not honest, then that's a problem with your character. That's a problem with your personality, and that's what I have a problem with. I don't hate those people. I hate the spirit that they're operating in. But for Kanye West to come out here and think that the answer to going against BLM is to say white lives matter, that is the most idiotic logic that I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, I'm repeating it again. I got to expound on that because that's not the way to go. And people will get in their feelings and they will do stupid things like that. You know, if I have a problem with BLM, I'm not going to abandon the black community. His mother was a civil rights leader. She was a civil rights activist. Donda West. Look up her resume. And this is a point that Willie D brought up, because Willie D got in a little bit of hot water because of the statements that he made about Kanye West's mother. Well, I don't agree with, the vitriol and the malice that was in Willie D's statement, but I do agree with the point that he made. Like, this man was birthed by a civil rights activist. So what would she say? Excuse me. Wow. So what would she say to her son, who was out here knowing what the Black Lives Matter movement really stands for, but instead of calling out the individuals within there who are destroying the movement, he's going to do this whole anti-campaign and use white lives as the no, that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. They're using Kanye West, and when I say they, I'm talking about the right wing conservatives such as a Candice Owens. You see that now he's on Fox News. Kanye's always been he's always been big with Fox News ever since he put on that MAGA hat and started trying to get in with Donald Trump. Then that's when. That's when Kanye became really famous with the conservatives. That's when they decided that rap music wasn't full of thugs and gangsters, and that, it wasn't so bad because they finally got a notable rapper on their side. And I've always said that Kanye is just trying to be Jay-Z. He's patterned himself after Jay-Z. He went and married the woman that he married so that he could try to create a power couple like Jay-Z and Beyonce. And, Jay-Z and Obama was really close. Jay-Z and Obama had each other's number. And he wanted to try to garner that type of relationship with Donald Trump. Everything that Kanye has been doing, he's been patterning his life after Jay-Z's life. So Jay-Z was with Obama and them. So now Kanye feels like, well, I'm going to be with Trump, because now that him and Jay-Z is falling out, he once again, here's that pattern. Instead of just bailing on Jay-Z, now he's bailing on his whole concept of patterning his life around Jay-Z and trying to be like Jay-Z. And so how do you protest that? Well, you do the opposite. And so he goes to the Republican conservative side of the party, which is the total opposite of what Obama was. And then he starts to set up over there. So now he's talking about running for 2024. Now, I stated the other day that Kanye West was used as a tool to distract black people during the last election in 2020. Whenever he came out talking about him running for office and all of that stuff, he wasn't meant to take any votes. He wasn't meant to, do anything like that. He was just a distraction. They use him as a tool, and I believe he's still paying penance for what he said back in the day about George Bush not caring about black people. But that's another story for another time. But this brother has gone on to disparage everything that Jay-Z stands for. If you notice, just look at it. Jay-Z is a Democrat by all rights and contents. When he lined himself up with Obama, he stated that he was down for the Democratic Party and what Obama was doing. And so now that they falling out, now this dumbass smart dude think that it's smart for him to rebel by going to the other side. That's what he does whenever he feels like he's been betrayed or he hasn't been done right or haven't been given his recognition or his attention. He goes to the other side, opposite of the one that he was just with. So you have to dismiss Kanye West because he's absolute idiot. He's an absolute idiot. And he's allowed his personal life and his business ventures to intertangle with each other. And now he's starting to destroy everything. But that's what happens to these types of people. He's not stable in anything. He's not. You can't trust Kanye to be firm and stand firm on something. He flip-flops on everything, and he tries to attribute it to having a great mind. There's a fine line between genius and insanity, a very fine line. And I would say that Kanye is on the side of insanity more than he is on the side of genius. People say, see, that's the thing. Kanye is smart when it comes to music things. Kanye is smart when it comes to anything that has to do with engineering and producing music. What you looking for, babe? Oh, right here. He's a genius when it comes to that, but he's trying to cause that to go over into other areas and to correlate into different things like politics and different areas like that. And his level of music genius is not sufficient for those areas and those platforms. So that's where he got it twisted. He thinks that he can take his musical genius and transfer it over, and it's going to give him the same results in business. It's going to give him the same results in the fashion world. It's going to give him the same results everywhere. But that's not the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is Kanye, stick to the music, because that's the only place where you're going to get praise and admiration. Anywhere else, you're going to reveal how stupid you really are and how ignorant you really are. And this is what's taking place with this dude right now. Blessings, Letitia. Thank you for being in the house. Yeah, this is something that we need to pay attention to, because these people that are exploiting the black community are not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're going to continue on. They're going to continue to find different innovative ways to worm themselves into the heart of the black community. And that's why our vetting process has to be very, very strenuous. Our vetting process has to be tough. We can't just let anybody in and give them full access to what we're doing. And so that's going to require some type of counsel. That's going to require us to really, really come together and have a meeting of the minds. Because, we was talking last night and we were saying that, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were not the only black leaders who had people following them. There were multiple groups that were moving towards the same goal, and that's the betterment of the black community. They just had different ideas of how to get there and different ideologies. And so that's the same thing today. We don't just have BLM. They're not the end all and be all for black people getting what we need to get. I want y'all to know that they're not the vehicle that's driving the black movement. There's still other organizations out here who are down for the cause, and they're putting all of their efforts and um, all of their finances towards that, and they're really stand-up organizations who are doing great work. I know a few of them locally. Um, there are individuals out here who are giving of themselves in a selfless way, and they're making a major difference just on their little part of the globe. And so all of us being under one individual. Black people have never been like that. We've never been like that in this country. We were never like that in Africa. We've always been a tribal people. And so, as to where we've always had leadership, and we've always had multiple groups with leadership over them. And so, that's the same way that this movement is going to move forward. We have different organizations, multiple organizations. We all headed towards the same goal. We just have different ideologies. And so that's why I say we have to be more accepting of this fact so that we can move forward, and we can only people we have to worry about is our small group of people. And the representative for our group of people goes to a meeting with the representatives from the head of each one of these black power, black growth, or black what's the word I'm looking for? Black empowerment groups. There's many different groups. So I feel like we should get the heads of all of these groups in a meeting so that we can organize and they can bring the information back to their group, because everybody has a specific role to play. And we have a sit down with all of these different leaders, and they understand what their group's role is, and they begin to go back and they work on that, and we continue to communicate with each other to see how far along somebody is coming, if somebody needs some assistance in completing their portion of the mission, and we just move like that as a large unit. That's the only way that it's going to work. But to insinuate that we have to have one black leader over all the different factions of black people, yeah, that's a fairy tale. It's not going to work like that. And so, what I just stated is what I suggest. You said BLM was hijacked. BLM was created with a false narrative. I don't feel like anybody hijacked it. I feel like the people who created it already had something in mind, and they knew that throwing the civil rights banner on it was the quickest way to get them what they wanted, especially whenever you have liberals in office, because they're the ones who are going to give them the most stuff. When Obama came into office, one of the first bills that he signed was for the LGBTQ community, not for black people, but for the LGBTQ community. Now tell me I'm lying. One of the very first executive orders that he signed was protection for them and rights for them in the workplace. So we understand that, why is it that black lives are targeted out of all people? That should give you some idea of our identity, our true identity, and how afraid people are for us to wake up and realize who we truly are. Because once we wake up and realize who we truly are, then people are going to have to recognize, and they're going to have to bow down. And these people do not want to bow down to us. Do you remember the Moors? How back in the day, those Moorish Muslims took over Europe and ruled Europe for over 400 years. They don't want that again. They vowed that they would never allow blacks to rule over Europeans ever again anywhere on this globe. They made a vow. There's also groups within the United States. I did a breakdown a while back talking about the election fraud and how back in the days they had a group called the Red Wings who would stand at these election polls, and any black people who would show up to vote. This is when black people first got the right to vote. They would stand guard with guns to deter and intimidate black people from going to the polls, because they said never again will we allow black people to have the type of power that they had after the Civil War during the Reformation of the United States, because black people flourished in politics, business, and every aspect of this country during this time. And they destroyed all of that as well. And they said, we will never allow a black man to lead this country. This is a vow from the white people in this country. And that is absolute, documented, proven history of the United States. This is why critical race theory is absolutely necessary, because they don't want us to know these things. They want to erase these types of things so that they can get rid of their damn shoe print whenever we start to raise these questions and hold them accountable for the systemic, I won't even say racism, because there's only one race of people, that's the human race, but the systemic classism that the United States operates in, and it's woven throughout the fabric of the flag. Everything in the United States has been set up for one group of people and one group of people only. Anybody else that gets in on it, you can get some of the scraps, but the meat of what America has to offer is for one group of people and one group of people only, and they are not black, they are not Mexican, they are not any other color except for white. That's the truth of the matter. I don't care who feels what way about it. If you got a problem with it, you don't have a problem with me. You have a problem with the truth. So I don't give a fuck about how you feel. Yeah, blacks did flourish. We flourished in everything throughout history. You're absolutely right, Chicky. And like I was saying, after the Civil War and the reformation of this country, that was a very, very powerful time for us. I've never been taught that in history class, no matter what level, middle school, high school, college. Nobody's taught that. That's some information that I had to go and find on my own. And so that allows you to understand that they are still hiding information from us, because they don't want us to get a complete picture of what America really is about and what America really did to us. So, yeah, the whitewashing of our greatness, absolutely 100%. But, I don't hold that against all white people. And see, this is what white people are so afraid of, is that we're out here and we just sitting here dwelling on, oh man, white people did this to me, I'm gonna get me some white people one day. That's not at all even in our character as black people. We just want you to leave us the fuck alone so that we can do our own thing. That's what most black people want. I don't care about your reparations. I don't care about your validation. None of that shit. Just give me my opportunity to create economic wealth for me and my family and my community. We don't need shit from y'all. But that'll be too good. They always want to claim in everybody's victories. They always want to claim in everybody's progression. So, yes, there's a lot more people that are homeschooling. I feel like the pandemic was a blessing and a curse at the same time. It was a blessing in the sense that people are more concerned with their health now. People are more aware of the things that we're putting in our bodies now. And, we're also more aware of things like homeschooling, taking care of the things that we put into our government's hands that really our government is not fit to run. Our government is not fit to run education. Don't you realize that our politicians are some of the most privileged people with the lowest education because their educations were paid for by their parents? We saw the scandal back, what was it, last year, the year before last, with all of those people who was paying all of this money and they was actually paying for their child's college degrees because those kids weren't going to class. They weren't doing any other work, but they would still get a college degree from that notable university because their parents donated so much money. We've seen that. And so these dumb as a box of rocks ass people will have these college degrees that says they are qualified to do this certain job. And when you put that dumbass in that position, they have not a clue on what to do because remember, they didn't attend class. They was down going to parties and sleeping and hoeing and all of that stuff when they were supposed to be in class. So now they've been stuck in a position that is very important, that is high priority, and they can't deliver the goods because they didn't learn shit. And so now we're feeling the pinch because we got this motherfucker up here with all these credentials, but they have none of the knowledge. They dumb as hell. And instead of saying that I don't know how to do this job, you need to get somebody who's qualified. Them motherfuckers will take that money and run this country in the ground. That's why the infrastructure of this country is crumbling. That's why everything in this country is subpar as far as service and shit like that. Because you got all of these motherfuckers with these bought ass credentials in these positions, and they are not qualified to do these jobs at all. That's where we are as a country. And so talking about the education system really pisses me off a lot of times because they always try to promote this bullshit lie that well, you just go get your education and it'll open up these doorways and all of that for you. No, we all heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Because even after you get a degree, you still got to have somebody to put in a good word for you to even get a foot in the door to a lot of these corporations. Because see, a lot of these kids, they mama or they daddy is on the board of trustees and shit like that. So they set up with a damn job after they come out of college of whoring and doing drugs and all that shit. That's why you got guys like Hunter Biden and Matt Gates and all of these people who have drug problems that they're trying to hide from the rest of the world as young as they are. Because in their college days, they spent most of their times drinking, drugging, and having sex with these young girls. And Matt Gates is still stuck on these young girls. Now tell me I'm lying. It's okay. I'll wait. See, these are the people that we've allowed to get into office, and this is what I understand people's argument whenever they talk about voting. Because if we sit back and we just complain and we allow these other evil-minded people to put in office and in these positions the people that they want, then of course we're going to have a government full of crooked-ass people because the crooked ass people are the ones who put them in office. But then, too, on the other hand, we also have the understanding that a lot of this election shit is just that. It's just shit. It's smoke being blown up your ass, and a lot of these votings don't really count. They already have the person picked that they're going to put in an office. They already have the president pre-chosen before they do the whole little campaign and all of that shit. They knew Obama was going to be president. We have these elections to make the people feel like they have a voice and make people feel like they have a choice. It's all a ruse. It's all a damn big ass farce. Voting does not mean shit. Yeah, I said it. Voting does not mean shit. You can cast your ballot and you can do all of that shit and you think it's going to do some good. No, The only area that works out for anybody is on the local level when it comes to putting judges in those positions, when it comes to the mayoral runs and stuff like that. But when you get into the federal government, no, those positions have already been predestined. They've already been predesignated for certain people, and they're going to make it seem like the people votes counted and all of that shit, and they're going to put that person in there. That's like leading up to Donald Trump. It was supposed to have been Bernie Sanders running with against Donald Trump. All of the backing for was for Bernie. Remember when they had those damn near 20 uh, uh, what was Democratic candidates that was trying to get that spot from Bernie? Bernie was heading the way a majority of the time. And right before Joe Biden dropped his ass into the race at the last second, Bernie was the front runner. Bernie was the choice. But then motherfuckers, soon as, and it was a plan, it was planned. It was absolutely planned because if Joe Biden would have ran that whole campaign with those other 20 candidates, they would have ate his ass alive. They would have poked holes in everything that his slow ass say. And everybody know that. You look at him now, they would have damn ate his ass alive. That's why they held him until like at the last second when everything was looking like it was going to be for Bernie. They dropped Joe Biden ass in there and he took the damn nomination away from Bernie Sanders. And he was the one who damn went up against Donald Trump. So they stole that shit from Bernie Sanders and they knew they were going to do it. The Democratic Party knew they were going to do it. All of this shit was pre-designated. So all of those votes and all of that shit didn't mean a damn thing because they knew who they wanted in that position. And who they want in that position is going to go there regardless of how many votes they have. That shit bears no meaning at all. So yeah, you right. Both of them are too old, and I feel like there should the same way that you get to a certain age, they take your license. I think when you get to a certain age, they should not allow you to be in government. Don't y'all realize that before John McCain died, when he had that brain aneurysm and had to have a whole brain surgery, that he was still occupying a seat in Congress? That man was literally brain dead, and them motherfuckers wouldn't put nobody in his place. He was still trying to come back and hold that damn seat. That's just how power hungry these people are. That's how power hungry they are. This man was brain dead, still trying to come back and hold a damn Senate seat. Wouldn't let that shit go until he died. And that's the problem in the United States. They want that power. They don't give a damn about the people. They'll say and do whatever they need to get you to them like them. But ultimately, they know they know who they're gonna place in those positions. They just be like, "Hey, man, play it up to the people like you really need their support." We got to sell this to the people to make them think that their votes count. And this is what we go through all the time. We're constantly being manipulated. We're constantly being used and exploited. So at what point are we just going to say, fuck them? Because that's where I'm at right now. That's why I'm an independent now. Fuck the Democratic Party. Fuck the Republican Party. Both of them are absolute garbage. It's not the lesser of two evils. Both of them are equally wicked pieces of crap. So that's just my stand on it, man. I'm not going to abandon the black community because Black Lives Matter is full of shit. I'm just going to go out here and I'm going to do the same thing with Black Lives Matter that I do with Kwame Brown and Ears and anybody else who are a hindrance to the black movement. We're going to get rid of them. We're going to eradicate them. We're going to hold their ass accountable. We are the accountability that these people never had. I want y'all to understand that, free thinkers. We And we think of ourselves on a small level, but we're not on a small level. 12 men turned the world on his head with a doctrine because they were persistent and because they was backed by Yahweh. And so if only 12 men can do that to the world, we have enough men and women that we can make a difference. But there's going to be some bumps and bruises that we're going to have to take, because there's a lot of black people out here who still convinced that Black Lives Matter is for the people. It's people out here that still convinced that Kanye West is an all right guy. It's still people out here who are convinced that Candice Owens is a very, very smart individual who has the black community's best interest at heart. But the free thinkers, the YouTube community, the people out in our local community who are doing the outreach and all of that stuff, we are the ones that's holding these people accountable. And they answer to us. They have to answer to us at some shape, form, or fashion. So there's a lot into this. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of understanding that has to come in play in a lot of these things. And we have to pray for wisdom on how to deal with these people, because they're coming in every shape, form, and fashion trying to sell us a pipe dream. Well, you ain't gotta sell me nothing. I don't want to buy anything. I'm good. I'm gonna just go out here and do the work that I was mandated to do, that I was assigned to do, and I'm gonna stay linked to the people who are like-minded and who are doing the same works, and we are going to create a community of blacks who really, really are for the people, a strong community, and nobody's going to come in and drop no seeds of dissension and watch it grow and destroy our community, because the minds in this community are far stronger than that. This is what we need. People who have the integrity to say, fuck you. If you can't bring it before our board, don't come trying to have a sidebar conversation with me, because that's what they'll do. They'll try to find somebody within your organization who's disgruntled or who's weak-minded, and they'll pull them off to the side, and they'll begin to plant those seeds of bitterness in their mind. They'll begin to plant those seeds of distrust in their mind, and they'll use that person as a tool to destroy things from the inside out. This is something that I warned Kwame Brown against. Rome fell not because of outside influences. Rome fell because of the battle on the inside, of the inside fighting. They broke into 4 separate parts, and then they began to have these inner battles for power over the Roman Empire. And this is what destroyed Rome. This is what's going to destroy these people ultimately. Every civilization that have held our people in captivity, look at that civilization now. You look at Egypt. What are they going through? You look at America. What is America going through now? You look at all of these different places who have had a hand in our captivity, and they're not having a good go at it right now. You may not see it because they're not going to advertise that narrative on TV, but you look at all of the things that these different nations who had a hand in our captivity, they're having a very bad go of it right now. So, and I'm not even going to get into the hurricanes and how they follow the same path as the slave trail across the ocean, and it hit on these same coasts where our people landed, and it's God saying, I remember. So when I see these things, and God knows that I don't want anybody to be harmed in hurricanes and stuff. Our sister Kilo, I'm not Kilo, I'm sorry. Our sister Queen, she's down in Miami, Florida, and they just survived through a hurricane. So by no means am I saying that I wish that these hurricanes harm any of our people. Good morning, Eve. Blessing to see you. But what I am saying is that that is a reminder from the Most High saying that I remember. I still see the tears. There's still a trail of bodies from this continent to this continent on the bottom of the sea. I remember. And when these hurricanes and these big tragedies happen on these coastlines, that's that same trail that those slaves traveled. It's not a coincidence to me. I put dots together. I connect dots. And this is not a coincidence to me. This is something that was brought to my attention a long time ago. And I'm just reiterating because Yahweh is bringing these things back to my remembrance to drive home this point. And so, yeah, man, BLM is done. BLM is canceled in my mind, in my heart. You'll never hear me say anything promoting BLM, but I'm still always going to be for the black community because BLM does not speak for nor represent the black community. Their actions have shown that. You can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears. What have BLM bared? Well, they've garnered houses for these members. They've embezzled money. They've not put any of that money towards the black communities and the people who need it. So I see the fruit that is coming from that tree and I denounce that tree. You know, that's just where I'm at with it. So to me, anytime that I refer to BLM, that's going to stand for blacks losing money. That's what BLM stands for to me. So they're going to be held accountable. Some people are going to go to jail, and we're going to continue to move on. It's just one further distraction to try to stop us from where we're headed. And this was prophesied many years ago that after 400 years of captivity, Yahweh is going to free his people. He's going to wake his people up. He's going to bring to their remembrance who they are. And wherever they are when that takes place, it's going to be some shit. It's going to be some smoke in the city. And I'm telling you now, y'all better go get Smokey the Bear because I'm about to light it up here in Killeen, Texas. I will keep y'all posted on everything that I'm doing, the progress, the failures, all of that stuff. I want to share all of that with y'all because I want us to all understand what the politics is from the inside, how it looks from the inside, what is being said in these rooms in private about us as a people. This is what I want to get out to the people. You said, and it won't be George Soros. I know, right? I know, right? All of these people who have put themselves in a position of power, they got exactly what they wanted. And so now their time is up. You know, I really wholeheartedly believe that. And this is what I'm going to go with. This is what motivates me when I'm out here moving around. And it makes me feel like, you know, Mac, you on the right track, man. So if I'm off track, then Yahweh, I trust Yahweh to send somebody to tap me on the shoulder and to point me in the right direction. He's done it my whole life, my whole entire life. So he's not going to stop now, especially with the important mandate that he's given me and the vision that he's placed on me right now. So, yo, I'm about to get off here, man. Well, actually, I'm not going to get off here. Do anybody want to come up and discuss this with me? Cause I got some time today. You know what I'm saying? I really got some time today, and I don't mind. I want to hear some of y'all views. You know, I want to definitely give anybody the opportunity to speak their mind on what I've been talking about this morning. Now that I learned how to drop the link and all of that stuff, yeah, it's time to rock and roll. And so let me see. So here we go. Here we go. Let me get that link in there. All right, link is copied. Cool. And now I'm going to go down here and hit that, and bam, and bam, and bam. Now let go. Wow. Okay, so yeah, I'm dropping the link. Anybody want to come in and talk about this with me? And do you have any points that you want to drive home or anything like that? You're more than welcome to come up and just give your say. I learned how to do this Dropbox thing, so now I'm going to be having these open conversations because I don't want to be a lecture series. That's I've been doing enough of that for a whole year. It's time for me to start interacting with people on a more personal level and really getting an idea of, how y'all really feel about this topic. How do y'all really feel about BLM? Um, I'm disappointed for one. I can definitely say that. I'm disappointed in anybody who would come forth and feel like that they could exploit our people at such a magnitude. This is a very large scale. Over $80 million they've embezzled. 80 million. I haven't seen anything go towards anybody. They did a GoFundMe for George, what's the dude's name? George Floyd's daughter. That should have came from BLM, right? They got 80 million. Did any of that money go towards George Floyd's daughter? Did any of it go towards Breonna Taylor's family or any of the other black children that have been slain or the black families that have been put in harm's way and been put in financial binds because of this? Remember Kyle Rittenhouse? Somebody was talking about him the other night. Kyle Rittenhouse, the whole focus was placed on this young man for killing somebody during the protest, but everybody lost sight of what that whole protest was about in Kenosha. That whole protest was about police brutality and them once again shooting another black man. But I want to ask the question, how much money went towards Kenosha? How much money went to that family of that black man who was killed to spark that whole protest in the first place, in which Kyle Rittenhouse went down there as a minor with a assault rifle and killed two people? Everybody put the focus on that, but they've taken the focus on what the whole protest was about in the first place. And it was about police brutality once again. You said you never felt any way, didn't trust them from the beginning. I got bad vibes from the beginning. Yeah. I saw a couple red flags, but like I said, I tried to give them the benefit of doubt. And this is one of the chances that we take a lot of times as black people. That's why uh, we're so fickle when it comes down to supporting people who say that they're for the black community. It's hard to get black people's backing now because so many people are afraid. They've had so many disappointments and they've invested time, money, and effort into people who have sold them out time and time again. Jesse Jackson sold us out. Al Sharpton sold us out. Um, a lot of people will say that Obama sold us out, but really, Obama was in a position with his hands tied. He couldn't do nothing. All he could sign bills, he could sign executive orders, but Congress can shoot it down. They can veto it and leave it sitting on the table. And that's what they threatened to do before Obama even got his first day in office. You already had people who were vowing to shoot down any bill that he signed for the simple fact of him being a black president. They said that they believed he was a Muslim terrorist and all of that shit to demonize him. But really what they were saying is he's somebody that we don't want running our country. And it didn't have shit to do with being no Muslim. It was about the color of his skin and the people who were represented by him. That's what it was. Now, he come into that office, his hands are already tied. Anything that he say or does with the word black in it is going to be magnified 1,000 times, and they're going to paint him out to be this black, this pro-black. Remember when uh, Pastor Jeremiah Wright, he did a sermon, and he was talking about how America's chickens are coming home to roost, and it was a spin off of Malcolm X's speech back in the day, back in the 1960s, of how America's chickens are coming home to roost. And don't you know they took that and they tried to slap that label on Obama because of Jeremiah Wright's message, and Obama attended that church. Oh, well, this is what Obama believes. That dude wasn't even in office yet, and they were already against him, and they wanted to see him fail. So you can't really say that Obama sold us out. Obama was put into an impossible position where he wouldn't be able to do anything for us, because any bill that he would have signed that would have been for us would not have made it. And so you would ask the question, well, how did the LGBTQ bills make it? Well, you have people on both sides of the aisle who live in that lifestyle. You have people on both sides of the aisle who understands that Hollywood is ran by LGBTQ people in high places. And you see that pattern going nowadays. If you announce as a actor or actress that you're gay, all of a sudden you become this brand, and you get elevated to a level of stardom and fame that just is unwarranted, just for announcing that you live this alternative lifestyle. And so we see that a lot of the higher ups in Hollywood and in entertainment in that whole area are in favor of pushing that LGBTQ narrative. So that's why they were able to get something during Obama's term. But black people were never able to get anything, and we're never going to be able to get anything, for the simple fact that the United States is designed for only one people to be exalted in this country, and that is the Caucasian European person. It's never going to change. I don't care how progressive the United States becomes. It's never going to change. That's always going to be a constant. That's always going to be a definite on this continent. So, this is your boy D Mac, man. I just wanted to put this out here, and I wanted to just give everybody food for thought, something to chew on for today. Um, you said he did a lot for the alphabet people because he swings that way. Yeah, I heard that too, Letitia. And I wouldn't. It, damn, I'm kind of on the fence about that, because on one hand, it could be true. He could definitely swing that way. I've heard stories of them having sex workers and escorts being brought to the White House late at night, and all of these secret rendezvous and shit like that. And I wouldn't put it past them one bit. But what bothers me is, the way that they disparage Michelle Obama particularly, and it's about disparaging the black woman, because they call Serena Williams a man because of her physical prowess and her being a physically dominant specimen, even over a lot of the white men. And we know that their go-to whenever they see a physically dominant black woman is to try to suggest that she's a man, insulting that woman, not only insulting her, but insulting black men. And so as to where I understand where the reasoning comes from, I just don't like that narrative, and I don't like to give any energy to these wicked, sorry, trifling motherfuckers who try to demonize our black sisters by calling them men and shit like that. I really hate that. So I try to stay away from that. But I do understand that Obama, yeah, they definitely could have been dibbling dabbling in that, because I know they were big supporters of it. And what was the reasoning for it? His daughters aren't gay, not that we know of. We haven't seen them to be gay or anything like that. So that wouldn't motivate or fuel them to push for that community. So the only reason that someone would push so hard for that community is that you have some type of link, some type of connection to it. And so I can believe that about Obama. I just don't like the way that they call um, Michelle Obama a man, and they allude to strong black women. The only way that they can be strong like that is if they exhibit masculine qualities. And that's just some bullshit to me. I don't like that narrative. I don't like for that message to be pushed. So you said look up three missing alphabet men from Jeremiah Wright's church when Barry Soetoro attended. They either came up dead or missing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and I believe it. Like I said, I've heard stories. I've read stories here and there about stuff like that. Um, there's been so many presidents. You go back to the Clinton Foundation in Haiti and how they've just used those children for sex trafficking. You know, you look at Oprah's school that she opened up in Africa, and how the school mom or whatever was over there beating these girls, using all of Oprah money, taking all of these millions of dollars that she's funneling through this school, and she don't even take the time to go over there and recognize that these girls are being abused and they're being mistreated and they're being molested and all of these things within this school that she built and put into the supervision of people that she don't even know. These are the types of mistakes where people think they're doing something good, but it's actually being used for bad because they didn't put it in the right hands. This shit is constantly happening with our people. And there goes that exploitation of black people all over again. But you have the Clinton Foundation who have exploited people in Haiti. You have the Bush Foundation who have exploited black people everywhere because when oil barons start dealing with the Arab oil barons, somebody's going to have to be the worker. Somebody's going to have to be the scapegoats. And oftentimes it's going to be the people of the darker hue. So there's a lot that plays into this. You say, yeah, I don't know about Michelle, but those three missing men and the white man, they shut up, were all alphabet men. That's interesting. I'm going to look into that more because I have heard rumors about, those late night tippings in the White House during those 8 years in the White House for the Obamas. You said Oprah Wicked. Yeah, it was a funny thing because I remember she was doing a seminar or whatever, and she had been talking about Michael Jackson. This was right after the whole Neverland thing that she did on Michael Jackson, who she claimed to be such good friends with. And she was talking about balance, and right as she was talking about balance, it was like God just tripped her and she fell and busted her ass. And I was like, that's what your fat ass get. That was poetic justice right in that moment for me. And I laughed about that. That's just a little side note. Um, you said some were arrested at Oprah school. That's good. That is very good to know because I've always, ever since they found that one lady who was the head of the Clinton Foundation, who was trying to leave out of Haiti with those 13 children who she was claiming was orphans. Then come to find out that those children were not orphans, but their parents was lied to, and they said that they were going to take these children to America and give them this great life and this great education so that they could come back and pour into their families and communities. Ever since that shit happened, my antenna has been up, because whenever people come out and they start talking about how these people are pedophiles and they have this pedophile ring, like I said, the same way I was talking about Hebrew Israelites and all that 20 years ago, I was talking about these pedophile rings 20 years ago too, because I ascribed to David Icke. If anybody know who David Icke is one of the most notable conspiracy theorists in the world. He's bigger than Alex Jones or any of them. Matter of fact, Alex Jones and guys like that are a product of David Icke and his information and his years of digging and going down these rabbit holes. And so David Icke came out over 20 years ago talking about these sex trafficking rings, and everybody said he was crazy. Everybody said he was a conspiracy nut. Everybody called him everything that they calling Alex Jones right now. But here, fast forward 20 years later, and you have a Ghislaine Maxwell, you have a Jeffrey Epstein, who have been busted for a global human trafficking ring, and they weren't trafficking these kids just to have sex with them for themselves. They had clients. They had clientele, and that's why Jeffrey Epstein is dead now. That's why that black book will never be released, because they had a clientele of all of these people in these high positions, not only in America, but across the world, that they were serving these children up to. Now that's truth. People they don't want to admit that. They don't want to accept that, because if they accept that truth, then they're going to have to accept the fact that they put these sick motherfuckers in position. And they don't want to wear that guilt, knowing that they put pedophiles in position of authority over us as people. So I believe that shit. I believe all of that. Well, I ain't gonna say I believe all of it. It's just like any other information that I get. I'm gonna chew up the meat and spit out the bones. So there's some part of that stuff that is fabrication, and there's some part of that stuff that is absolute truth. They have the receipts. They got the little black book. Ghislaine Maxwell ain't gonna say nothing. They gave her 20 years whenever they gave R. Kelly 30 years for one case. R. Kelly still went going for another case. Ghislaine Maxwell, she trafficked more children across not state lines, but across the world to other countries. And she only got 20 years. R. Kelly took girls to probably a different state. That dude just got 30 years just off one case. So we see the differential in the treatment of a human sex trafficker to these prominent people in our society versus somebody who was taking the pleasure all for himself, like an R. Kelly. I see all of these things, and I take all of these things into consideration whenever I make my decisions concerning our government and people within our government. All of these things I put into that consideration. So I'm not naive to anything. I'm not dumb to anything that's going on within our government. I know what type of people we're dealing with. Man, I'm glad that I have this conversation, because y'all giving me some things that I need to go and research this morning. So I hope I gave y'all some stuff to chew on for the day. I'm about to get up out of here. Amen. Blessings to each and every one of y'all. And I'm going to come back on later on, man, with some more info. Whatever is pressed on my heart to speak on today, then that's just what I'm going to come back with. So I hope it's something that everybody going to be able to enjoy. I hope it's not going to be this heavy. I hope it's going to be something lighthearted where we can laugh and just enjoy ourselves. And I appreciate all y'all for coming in as always, man. You know my love for y'all. And y'all know what I say, man. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. Have a blessed morning. I'm out.